Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member, and you can too. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with the advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co.
And please put unprofessional development in the "How did you hear about Podgo?" That will give us a little finder's fee. Thank you.
Welcome back. Ew. Of the annual Golden Georgie Awards.
There we go.
Let's continue to be idiots.
Let's do a clip show. Bottle episode. Don't forget the clip show.
All right, so it's my turn again.
Oh, it's your turn again. Are we going to be able to get in just 10 episodes?
What do you mean? Do you think we are going to go longer than that? Or do you think we'll have to... It's going to be a hard time stopping? Or...
I know afterwards I'm going to look at it and be like, man, I knew I should have nominated this other one.
Oh yeah.
Hey, we'll do a list of honorable mentions. How about
that?
Okay.
So, well, to me, and it's because I just listened back to it, and for those of you that follow me on Twitter, and hopefully I'll get back to making my little promo videos. But this one, because when I made the promo video, this moment really stuck out to me, and it was from I forget his real name, but he goes by Headteacher. And
that was a great episode.
Yes. And so I will say best advice for an administrator. And so there's something he talks about trust and developing trust between him and the teachers. And there's like a little 2-minute, 3-minute snippet where he talks about how he trusted his teachers to do the right thing versus micromanaging them, or that he just learned to trust them that they were going to do the best job possible, and he supported them. Best admin advice. What are some of the things that you're proud of in terms of as you became a head teacher that you think that maybe you were able to instill into the kids or to instill into the teachers, that you say, this is where I can kind of see my fingerprint, or this is kind of where I can see when people talk about me, they say this is how he benefited education.
Well, I have to say here and now that I'm no longer a head teacher.
Right. And what are you now?
Well, I'm a supply teacher.
Okay.
So basically, I stopped being a head teacher in December.
Okay.
But I was all about relationships. Mm-hmm. That's the bottom line. Relationships. If you've got relationships with the kids, mm-hmm. and you've got good relationships with the staff, mm-hmm. then that's the foundation to build everything else on. Mm-hmm. When I took over the school, it had gone through a bit of a rough time. Mm-hmm. There were rough times to come, but the staff were quite a low ebb, and I focused mainly on building up the relationships that had a bit of the local authority had been on their backs. Yep. That had a visit from Ofsted which hadn't worked out that brilliantly, mm-hmm. They were quite down. So what my job I saw was basically, first thing, get to know the kids, because it was in a very socially deprived area. Mm-hmm. Get to know the staff was the very first priority.
Yeah, I was going to say, because they've got barriers of trust that are up when it comes to the head teacher, I think. I know we've talked about this in other podcasts, that it can be an adversarial relationship, and sometimes neither side actually really wants that, but because sometimes it feels like there's different agendas on the table there, where we're trying to do this, but you're trying to do that, and when you're really both kind of focused on trying to do the same thing, but maybe just have a different way you think to go about doing it. So how do you deal with the ones that are just whatever, you can try and be my friend, but I didn't like the last one, I'm not going to like the next one, and
I'm not going to like you either.
Right.
Depends on what you're trying to do, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, I always went along the lines of, if I was going into, I made a point of going into every classroom every day, talking to the kids, talking to the staff, and making sure that I was in those classrooms. But I made it very clear to the staff at the very beginning, look, when I walk into your classroom, I'm coming in just to visit, to see the kids, to see you. I'm not coming in to judge anything. I'm not going to come in and start commenting on what you're doing. If anything, I'm going to come in, I'm going to wind the kids up, and I'm going to walk out and leave you to deal with it. That's the best bit about being a head teacher.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, walk in, wind the kids up, and it was all, you build up a relationship where it's almost as though it's you and the kids against the teacher.
Nice.
You know, so you walk into the classroom, you say to the kids, "Is she behaving herself today?" They go, "No, sir. No, she's been really naughty, actually." You know, and you build that up.
Fun. That's fun.
And yeah, having some fun. And I would wind the teachers up as well, you know, to build up that relationship. Because it should be fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the kids and the staff. And, I mean, to be honest with you, the school that I went to, and I've said it numerous times to the staff, when I was there and after I've left, that scenario that you described about them having difficulties and problems, and I didn't have it.
That's cool.
I didn't have that. All the staff was like, yeah, look, we want to change. I think the previous head had some funny ways, quirks that she had.
Okay.
Which I thought, really?
Well, it's always nice to come in after someone unpopular, because then it makes you look good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say she was unpopular.
Start by setting the bar low.
Okay, so she wasn't unpopular?
Well, she wasn't unpopular, but I think there was a few people had a few tales to tell about her.
Okay.
You know. So when I went in, I just thought, hey, let's have a bit of a laugh. You know. So I walked in and started winding people up and, you know, having a bit of a laugh and a joke. And I always managed, there was one particular teacher, and I always managed to walk into her classroom when she was doing something daft in front of the kids. Every single time. If I walked into the staff room at playtime, she's like, he did it again, you know. He did it again. I'm sitting there, I'm doing all this, with my fingers clicking, and I'm up and dancing about, and he walks in again. I don't know why he does it. All of that just builds up the team, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Builds up the team. And the staff that I had were the most caring staff I've ever come across.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The kids we had, some of them were living in the most desperate of circumstances. They really were. I would see on lunchtime one of our teaching assistants popping out. Well, I never thought anything of it because I thought I always worked on it at lunchtime and do what I like with it, you know. And then I found out afterwards she'd been out to buy a pair of tights from the local supermarket for a little girl who didn't have any.
Oh.
Yeah.
There would be people staff members who would bring in old coats from their own kids. They'd put them in a cupboard somewhere so that they won't give out one kid. So that was the type of place it was. And I think what I'm most proud of is I really made sure that the staff knew whatever they did like that was okay. You know, that was okay. That was what we were about.
Yeah.
Looking after the children first. Children first.
Yeah.
Oh,
definitely.
yeah.
Definitely.
That's it. The kids were loved.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was a good talk. Man,
We have like a really good podcast. Like people should listen to it.
Yeah.
Your turn again, friend.
Let me think. I'm not going to give an award to your brother.
Okay.
Because I'm just
word to your brother. Is that?
I'm just not going to cause that
You
argument.
said an award to your brother. Oh, I thought you said I'm not going to give word to your brother. Okay.
I'm also not going to give words to your brother. No.
Or my mother.
I'll give him one. Gazebo. That one is just for your brother.
Okay, cool.
Uh,
No, the word we gave him, what was it? What was that? What was the word that we kept on saying with my brother? I can't remember what
Demonstrative.
it was. Demonstrative.
I'm going to go with the Golden Kilt Award, going out to Chris Smith.
Okay, cool.
Who we interviewed to talk about being the Scottish Teacher of the Year and teaching math and making YouTube videos. And he is one of the most energized.
Yes.
Like, he has that contagious energy where he is just so passionate about learning and teaching.
Yes.
And the maths, as he kept saying.
Yes.
So I'm definitely giving a golden kilt to Chris Smith.
When you listen to that episode, you definitely need your Scottish to English or to American dictionary, because some of the times you're talking like, I got my kit and I've done the thing.
My journey into maths teaching wasn't particularly smooth. I think I really enjoyed maths as a student, as a pupil, even if there were, peaks and troughs, as any good sine graph would have. So, for example, when I was in first year, just starting secondary school, high school, so 12, 13 years old, and our teacher at the time was a guy called Mr. Morton, and he was like a really old school, traditional, everyone sit in silence, and I am at the front of the board, and he was just, you would literally teach yourself every topic. There'd be books on the wall. You would go up and take it, work through it, mark your own work, and then move on to the next book. So everyone in the class was at a different point. And I remember teaching myself from books Pythagoras. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Why on earth wouldn't this teacher, who was super smart, want to teach me about Pythagoras' theorem? It seems like a lovely thing to share with students. And actually,
if how to pronounce it, that's the biggest challenge, I think.
Yeah, or spell it in Greek. But I was just, I was fascinated. To be honest, I was a bit incredulous. I couldn't believe that this rule would work for every right angle triangle. I'm like, this can't be the case. My jotter was just filled with loads and loads of triangles that I'd just drawn out, measured, and then to see if Pythagoras' theorem worked.
And like pages
and pages. Exactly. See, when I saw Beautiful Mind, I was thinking, that is me, age 12.
7.
I wasn't allowed to draw in the windows, but apart from that, it was pretty much the same. And so eventually I thought I'd come up with a counterexample. I thought I'd found a triangle which disproved centuries of mathematics. Oh. And so I don't know how I found this bravery, this courage to approach Mr. Morton's desk, but I got to his desk and I said to him, I think you'll find I've disproved Pythagoras' theorem, and I would like you to, from now on, from henceforth, I would like to be called Chris Thagoras. Oh, it's an awful moment. Mr. Morton just shakes his head. He looks at me in utter disgust, because he knows his stuff, and he knows that there are umpteen proofs for Pythagoras' theorem. There's no way this wee boy's going to come up with something. And literally, the triangle that I'd drawn was so minuscule. It's like tiny, almost microscopic. So when I went to measure it, it seemed like the three sides were all the same length, but they weren't, and so it was a bit embarrassing. And so you might have thought that was enough to scupper maths for me, but while I was at secondary school, Andrew Wiles disproved Fermat's last theorem. So this was a big deal in maths. This was like maths getting on the news, which hardly ever happens.
Right.
And so, yeah, so this meant that I was really like, cool, maths is happening. I'm going to do this. And so I went off to uni and studied maths and loved it. And spent 4 years just soaking it in. Just give me more maths. I'm loving this, guys. And at the end of
mathematics.
Yeah, exactly. As a math addict.
Like, oh, really? What did you? And like the whole time I remember listening to that episode, it was like I was on delay. Like there was like literally a translator in my head that was going, okay, this, okay, he said that. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, So.
Right, no, I agree. I should quit my havering. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he met the Pretenders, or not met the Pretenders, but had them help him out with his newsletter. And
the Pretenders?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
he
had the Pretenders. So he did a newsletter where he did a riddle based on walking 500 miles, and he sent it.
That's not the Pretenders, you big stoopy face.
That's the Pretenders.
No, the Pretenders sing Brass in Pocket, and You're Special. That's Chrissy Hynde, who was married to, you're thinking, like, I think it's the Commitments or something like that.
You've heard of the Proclaimers?
Proclaimers.
The Proclaimers.
Oh.
Yeah. So they're,
I
you would say they're more...
500 miles. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's math in
So-
that problem.
Well,
They add up 500 and 500. I think.
I have a math song about 500 miles, like a mathsy version of 500 miles. And because I was going to be performing that at a maths conference, I asked the Proclaimers if they would pose with a copy of the maths newsletter. And they did it.
Nice.
So I got a copy. Yes! So
Put it up,
I've got the
babe.
boys holding the maths newsletter.
That's cool. That's really cool.
I
Yes.
apologize. I
The
take it
Pretenders,
back.
like, got brass.
I redact
In
my
pocket.
I don't know what that song is.
You know Brass in Pocket.
I would probably know if I heard it. I'm going to add it to my playlist.
Gonna turn down. You're special. I'm special. Gotta use my something. My imagination. What's that? Do you know that song now?
Oh,
Oh, let's go. Oh. You young person, you know. Anyway, Brass in Pocket's a good song, and they sing went back to Ohio. The Rush Limbaugh rips off their bass line as the opening part of his theme song. He doesn't play really any of the song, but if you're familiar with the Rush Limbaugh theme, because I know there's a big crossover audience between us and Rush Limbaugh fans.
yes, we know how naturally conservative most teachers are.
Yes. So, but his theme song is also a Pretender song, and like I said, she was married to Ray Davies from the Kinks, whom I love and who I had like a sort of celebrity moment with one time. Where have I shared my celebrity moment? Am I allowed to share my celebrity moment with Ray Davies?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so Ray Davies of the Kinks. For those of you who aren't Kinks fans, they are just a very prolific. They were the third leg of the British invasion. It was the Stones and the Beatles get all the big hype, but the Kinks were also really big at that time, but they just don't get kind of like mentioned as much. I'd seen them in concert prior to that, and I also played a lot of Kinks like all the time. Me and my roommate loved the Kinks. And so if you're cool like me and Tudisco, and you like a band, your number one job is to like a song that nobody's heard of by the band.
Right. No,
Okay.
absolutely.
So you have to find a weird, obscure song that you really like. And so I would play the song was called Mr. Pleasant, and I would play it all the time and just loved it. So they came to a town near me, and they were performing, and they were not at the height of their career at this point because they were performing at basically a club, a bar on one end and a stage on the other, and then just floor. You know, that's all there was. There was like almost nothing in between. You would just go to the bar or you would go to the stage, and then it was just a giant floor. Anyway, we loved the Kinks. Me and my roommate, we got there really early, so we were at the front row. So they come on, they're playing all their songs, Lola and You Really Got Me and all that kind of stuff. And so in between breaks, in between songs, I would yell really obnoxiously, play Mr. Pleasant! Can you play Mr. Pleasant? And so Ray Davies ignored me for like the first 5 times and just played whatever it is they were going to play. So then he happened to have out the acoustic guitar because it was getting close to time for Lola. And he strums like the first few chords of it. He's like, oh, Mr. Pleasant, how is Mrs. Pleasant? And he played like literally 30, 45 seconds of the song. And then he looks at me, he goes, is that good enough for you? And I'm like, oh, yes, it is. Thank you so much, Ray Davies. And he goes, and does anyone else have any other personal problems that they need to discuss while we're here? And I'm like, thank you, Ray Davies is literally like mocking me and making fun of me. And I am just, I'm like, that is like, thank you, Ray Davies. I can tell that story 8,000 times. So, yeah, so that's my, my Kinks, story. Completely unrelated to the Georgies. No idea how we got there. Oh, because you said the wrong thing for the Pretenders, and because Chrissy Hynde is married to him, so that's our 6 degrees.
I don't know if I'm pretending or proclaiming. I don't.
So
verbs are difficult.
So from Chris Smith to Ray Davies in 5 degrees. So.
Hey, unprofessionals. This here's another one of them there commercials. Okay. It's for a good friend, Alex Pimental. Yeah, he used to be a math teacher. Now he does taxes. Okay? You want your taxes done by a math teacher. You want to make sure it's done right. Just like those other things you have math teachers do when you struggle with, have a math teacher do your taxes. Or if you are a math teacher and you just don't feel like doing it, you just send it on to him. All right? His prices are reasonable, starting at $75. He can do all 50 states. I live in Arizona, but I work in Oklahoma. Okay? Who are you, King Tut? But anyway, sorry, Steve Martin fans. But well, it's an old reference. Going back to the 70s for some of you guys. You want to get your taxes done, but you don't feel like doing them. So you go to PimentalGarcia.com. The connection's in the show notes down there. You just go down to the show notes, you click on that, it takes you to the website, you connect with Alex there. He does your taxes for you, gets them done lickety-split. All right? So that's what you need to do. So thank you guys. Thank you for supporting a teacher who is trying to go out and get a little business started. We appreciate you. And now, back to the wonderful show.
Alrighty. Do I have another award to give out? Well, I'm just going to base this on, I'm going to call this the fan award, because one of the ones that I get talked to about the most is episode 11.5, Effort versus Ability. Tudisco and I get into a big grading debate and how to grade and this and that and other, but just the whole episode I know really struck a chord with people who felt one way or another, and maybe they were swayed a little bit, or maybe just got a little more introspective about that episode when they listened to it.
So in our class, we'll call it Hypothetical 101. We have a bunch of handouts, one big handout a week. We have a test every other week, and we got homeworks. Right.
And some of the stuff might be some online, things that they do. There's things they read. There's reflections. There's
and our boy George,
guided notes. And George, yep.
He's not done any of his homework, doesn't do any of the class, but sits down for that test and just knocks it out of the park.
Right. He's getting 95 or better on every single unit test. And we're discounting cheating. He's taking it like literally sitting at your desk.
Legit. Yes.
Right.
So the question was then, what grade do you give George? And I say, according to the way our grade book works, I think he deserves about, a D or a C.
Yeah. So we said if it was getting, I think when I said 100 and he wasn't doing any other kind of stuff, your answer was he should get a 75. So let's not talk about how grade books are set.
Right, because it varies from state to state and whatnot.
Right. Let's talk about what this child should earn in a class. And I'm going to guess there's going to be people that agree with you and agree with me. So
hot takes.
You're Jane Curtin. I'm Dan Aykroyd. We're going way back to, do you go back that far to Disco? Do you get those references when they would do point counterpoint on, Saturday Night Live?
Mealey, you ignorant. Hold on. What's the word?
Anyway, go ahead. Present your case.
So, all right. So I think that the kid deserves a 75. I do. Because here's the thing. They've shown mastery, right? Mm-hmm. They've proven that they understand your content. So whatever's happening in your classroom, either it's effective or it's unnecessary. They've already mastered the content. Yes. So there's really no reason for them to be held back or fail. Right. Because they've shown that they understand it all. But I think that your final grades should be a rough, mean and average of your ability and your effort.
And here's what I'm going to say. I disagree.
Okay.
I think it should be 100% ability. Okay?
Why?
Here's why. Well, first of all, I can play the standards game. Mm-hmm. Is there any standards written for student shows effort in order to, and student does X amount of class participation? Those are not standards.
Those are not Common Core standards.
Those are not Common Core standards. And part of it's personal bias, because I was that kid. I literally would ace tests left and right, and I couldn't stand homework. I'm really good at math. And so I would get like 20 problems to do at night. I'm like, why would I do these 20 problems when I don't need to do it? And then my grades would suffer. So there's a little bit of bitterness in me for that. Above and beyond that, I truly believe that if you have mastered my content and you 100% know it, you're the kid that deserves 100. And it actually pains me a little bit, the kids who get B's, who have 75% level mastery, but turn in a bunch of busy work.
I had people come up to me who aren't even teachers.
Yes.
Who are listening to that, and they're like, yeah, that I always wondered that, and I was always curious about that too, because, I was this kind of student or that kind of student, and a lot of people really connected with that episode.
Oh, by the way, someone posted it somewhere. If we're going to keep grading, which I am not against getting rid of grading completely, but if we're going to keep grading, the fact that we grade out of 100 and then they get a GPA that's based out of 4 is really stupid. Like, why every assignment and every test isn't just out of 4? If you turn in something that was not very good, well, then you get a 1. You know what I mean? Or you get a 0 or whatever. When the most you can get 100 and the least you can get is a 0, and then we're going to change that to 4 through 1, that makes no sense. Had you ever thought of that before, by the way?
No, I still don't understand the letter system. A, B, C, D, F.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there no E? Do we just really want to just hone in on F
for fail? We want to really make the failing hurt. We had E's when I was in school.
Really?
My school district, it was A, B, C, D, E. You got an E if you failed.
I also heard systems where instead of an F, they give them a, developing. Or instead of an F, they give them, they just find something to replace the letter F.
Yeah.
And incomplete. No, they completed it. They just bombed it. If you finished the race last, you finished. You didn't win. That's
true. But there are people who don't run. Yes.
That's true.
Okay. So what's with the honorable mentions? Explain to me what this is going to be like in your head.
If we just want to go through if there are any that stick out that we just want to give a quick shout out to.
Okay.
Give them some props.
All right.
So I think I'm going to say for my next one. So we started the podcast by Mealey just saying, "Hey, let's do a podcast," and I said, "Okay." And then Mealey's like, "Hey, it'd be entertaining if we brought other people on who could actually be serious for us, because the two of us can't be serious."
Yes.
And I said, "Yeah, no, that's a smart idea." And so he started reaching out and just talking to people around our school. And the first time he branched out, he got on the Quora, as he loves so much.
Yes.
And our first guest that he really brought in that neither of us knew was for episode 7, because he had written a book called Everyone Dies.
Yes.
And that was, I think that's a real, important moment for the podcast, because it was the first time we went outside of our circle.
Yes.
And it really went well. It was a great episode.
Mm-hmm.
We cracked up. Mealey really quizzed him on how to murder the entire planet.
Yes. That was his specialty. That's
right.
That's what he's known for. Yeah.
So props to Dave Consiglio.
Yes.
And so for him, we're going to give him the Exploding Planet Award.
It is amazing how many ways you can end humanity. You really don't think about these things on a day-to-day basis. It's kind of depressing. But
can you improv Everyone Dies?
I'll do a little improv for you.
You do a little improv? The first one I've got is, how can you make everyone die with...
Glue sticks.
Glue sticks.
Glue sticks. That's a tricky one. Let's see.
I'll give you a choice. Glue sticks or fidget spinners. How about that? So that gives you some more options.
No, glue sticks are easier. See, one of my favorite ways of making everyone die, and I get this one a lot.
It's not a sentence I hear a lot.
Just consuming all of the oxygen on Earth.
Okay.
And this one turns out to be a surprisingly easy way to end humanity because we need air, as it turns out. So I get a lot of them that are like, I know it's a science teacher thing. So a lot of them are like, what would happen if all of the ocean water was converted to milk?
Right.
And the answer is everyone dies. And the reason is that the oceans are huge and all that milk is going to rot, and all that rotting consumes a lot of oxygen. And now we don't breathe and we all die.
Yeah.
So the glue sticks, the easiest way to make everyone die is to glue everyone's nostrils shut. So you'd need, you don't need that many. You probably need 1 billion or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And you just glue everyone's mouth and nose shut. But if you want something a little bit more dramatic than that, which is, of course, why I'm here, then we're going to make a giant glue stick mountain.
Okay.
I did answer one that was, the unlimited soup, salad, and breadsticks at Olive Garden?
Yes.
Shameless plug for Olive Garden.
There we go.
They come and they grind the cheese
Parmesan
grater.
cheese, yep.
Yeah.
Somebody said, well, what if the cheese grater was also unlimited? How long would it take to kill all of us? Because we get buried in cheese.
Yes.
I was super disappointed by that one, though, because it's like 1 trillion years. It's a really long time because the cheese grater is kind of slow. And also, if any FBI agent ever looks at my search history on Google, I'm going to federal prison because I have searched for the most awful and not illegal or anything weird like that, but what is the rate at which a cheese grater grates cheese?
Right.
And then how much oxygen is in the atmosphere on the very next search.
Right.
So, because all of the cheese will rot. But it turns out we get buried by the cheese, which is kind of fun.
Wait.
Yeah.
So hold on. Glue stick mountain. Wait, how did Glue Stick Mountain kill us?
Okay, I'm sorry. We got off track. So one of the ways you could do this is you could make a glue stick mountain. You could just get a bunch of glue sticks and melt them into a large edifice.
Yeah.
And if you did this properly, say, for example, we could probably make a glue stick mountain and block up the Straits of Gibraltar. And this is the strait between the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. Now, you're going to need 1 million glue sticks, but you could do it. Blocking off the Mediterranean Sea causes an ice age, which causes, war, which makes people mad because now France is under a glacier now and they're kind of mad and they can't make any more wine. So they're probably going to use their nuclear weapons to take over somebody else's good winemaking country, which is probably North Africa at this point. And North Korea is under a glacier and, we all know that goes badly. So you can get there tangentially a lot of different ways. And I've kind of gone down all of those particular rabbit holes.
Now we can almost evolve this into a 6 degrees of everyone dies, Kevin Bacon type game. So where there's certain ways if I go to this, then we get rid of oxygen, or we get to this, then we get to an ice age, or we get to this, we get to, nuclear disaster, or we get to
and there's lots of disease. There's disease routes here too. You could poison the water supply. You could turn the glue sticks into dioxin and start, just dumping them into reservoirs and stuff. This is where I definitely get put on the most wanted list, though. So we should probably.
I'm feeling a board game tie-in. Definitely
don't make dioxin. It's really bad. It's really bad. Don't make it.
Yeah. Do you think you can do fidget spinners though?
Fidget spinners.
It can be as large or as small or made out of whatever it is that you want to.
Well, if I get unlimited size, then I'm making a fidget spinner out of Mars, Venus, and Mercury. That's going to be a ton of fun.
Okay.
But if we're going with regular sized fidget spinners, this is going to be a kind of tough one. I don't know. That's tricky. There are certain things, because there are some times that people will ask me, can you do it out of this stuff? And I'm like, no. Somebody asked me, can you make it everyone dies out of a salt shaker? I'm like, it's a salt shaker. No. Short of I'm going around to every single person on Earth and just poking them in the eye with the salt shaker until they die. But
right.
It seems kind of not in the in the spirit of the meme.
Or you could always cheat and just make like a Galactus-sized salt shaker that just crushes the whole planet.
It's just like a really, really big salt shaker. Yeah, I mean, I guess if we had enough fidget spinners, we could probably, I don't know, change the rotational inertia of the Earth.
Okay.
But we need enough fidget spinners to roughly equal the mass of the Earth. But yeah, you could stop the rotation of the Earth with fidget spinners. You had enough of them.
Okay. If you tried hard enough.
If you try, well, I mean, then you're going to need like roughly the mass of the moon turned into fidget spinners. So the manufacturing is going to be really tough. You're definitely going to have to outsource that one.
Cool. And he is also he's also a super fan. Every time I touch base with him, he spreads the word all over Michigan, and I really need to touch base with him again sometime soon, actually. But he's always saying, "Oh, I really enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed that episode." He was one of the ones that really liked the grading episode as well. So cool.
All right, so now that we have our awards.
Okay, so what are we doing now? We're doing honorable mentions.
Yeah, so like if there's any other podcasts that like we know they were good, but we just didn't have time to give them an award.
Well, so some honorable mentions that I would like to mention. Two that I would like to say are Robert Kaplinski and Nicole Anthony. Both of them have been on any number of podcasts. And when they tell you at the end of the podcast that this is the most fun I've ever had on any podcast, that means we did our job good, and we feel really good about that. So I give those two episodes honorable mentions because we were able to bring joy to our guests.
This is an interesting podcast. No,
thank you.
I don't think I've laughed as much.
Well, this has been a blast, Nicole. I just want to say thank you. So much. Go ahead.
I genuinely mean, because I don't just say stuff to say it. I genuinely mean it. I think this is the most fun podcast I've done.
Oh,
I've done a lot, and you guys are a lot of fun. Like the lighthearted stuff and funny questions and laughing and games. Like it's good.
Oh,
times.
Cool. What do you got, Tudisco? Throw some stuff out.
I got to throw out to our podcasting brethren, all of whom I think were great episodes. Batsheva of Overthrowing Education. It was so much fun talking to her. And she gave us such great perspective. And oh my goodness, Mealey, the quiz you came up with at the end.
Thank you.
If you have not listened to the end of that episode where Mealey gives her the impossible quiz.
So the theme of this quiz is, and see, I did tiny bit of research. At one point, Batsheva mentioned that she was listening to the Grateful Dead in a tweet where I follow her on the Twitter. And so I quizzed to see how much of, by the way, I told Tudisco didn't know that we just refer to each other as heads, that you don't say, if you say deadhead, then you're not one. If you say head, then you are one. Okay? So, but anyway.
I think I'm in for some trouble, but
this is
trouble ahead.
We're trying trouble ahead. Very nice. So
I take no responsibility for any of this.
So anyway, so it's education, Grateful Dead themed quiz with heavy on puns. Okay.
Oh my God. Honestly, this sounds amazing.
Yes.
It sounds like everything to me. I'm so excited.
Good. We want you to feel that way.
I might be terrible at it, but I'm excited to hear it.
And I'll share the doc with you when we're done. Okay?
I can't wait.
All right. So, what was a hit for the Grateful Dead in the 80s when they changed the score on a student's test?
Touch of A?
Nope, close.
A touch of A.
Touch of grades.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to give her that one.
Heads or deadheads.
Thank you.
A touch of gray.
A touch of grades. Okay.
Grades. That is good.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
So I liked my answer too, though, I have to say.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Okay.
So now
but yours is better.
Thank you. So now you kind of get like where we're going at least.
I do. I like it.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if you know a lot about the Grateful Dead and education, then you should get them all right. I did.
Yes. I love talking to about the Ed podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
because everyone knows podcasting. That's where the money is.
That's right. Look at us dual wielding cash with our few careers.
I know.
Absolutely.
Yes, we met. In fact, we met Shane at the Podcaster Island, where we all fly our private jets to.
Exactly right.
Yes, and we hunt the poor.
We do. Yes, stupid person with no podcast. Boom.
How you doing today, Shane?
Well, that took a really dark turn, I'm going to say, but
because not only did I get to talk about movies, and hear about what it's like to teach a film class, just got to talk about running podcasts and what that whole transition is like.
Mm-hmm.
So Shane of the Ed podcast, definitely check out that episode, and our staff room, the staff room podcast with Chey and Pav.
Chey and Pav are fellow podcasters. They're up in Canada. I've met them on the Twitter and listened to their podcast, and we just had some different interactions. But before we get to that, one of you is a gym guy, and Pav, I should know what you teach, but I have no idea what you teach. I'm sure I've heard it, but then it didn't stick in my brain.
I'm the same. I got to ask her every morning. What are you teaching again?
Yes, children is what she teaches.
Give me a clue. Give me a clue.
I'm Wonder Woman. I teach everything.
There you go. So, how to block bullets with bracelets. That's always a good skill. Yeah. And the lariat of truth. And then the first ones that we had on were the Hands Up guys, the guys from across the pond when we had them on.
We've recorded so much.
We have recorded a lot. A lot.
Talking to them about fictional teacher crushes.
Yes. Yes, and
goodness.
Kids pooping out the leg of their trousers and all that kind of stuff. It's good stuff. and the punk rock classroom also has a podcast. And Toria Bono of Tiny Voices, she now has a podcast as well. And Dave Jackson, who's not a teacher, but he has a podcast about podcasts.
Oh, Dave Jackson.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He has a podcast about podcasts, but he's not an edu podcaster like we are.
Right. Now, Mealey, I know you're not a nerd like me, but did you definitely get a Dungeons & Dragons vibe from Dave Jackson? I definitely got a feeling that he runs D&D.
No, I don't know if I get that vibe from him or not.
Maybe it's just me.
Okay.
I also want to give an honorable mention to Keenan Lee. I really loved our conversation on Black Lives Matter.
And his spirit. He's just somebody that you just like when you're in the room with him. It's hard not to be happy obviously we're only in a Zoom with him, not in a room with him, but he's just someone that just like, you just feel like every time you're around him that you're just feeling happy.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed that conversation.
Yes, it was good.
But I mean, honestly, honorable mentions to everyone who joined us in our podcast, who allowed us to waste at least an hour of their time.
By the way, if you were on the podcast with us and we have not yet given you an honorable mention, and you're still listening, I just want to let you know that your episode sucked. And that's because that's why we didn't mention it. That's the main reason, is because your episode sucks. So if you have any self-esteem left, we are here to just tear it down and just consider yourself privileged enough to have been on the episode with us. So we don't have to mention
You're welcome.
You got to spend an hour with us. So and you can listen to it anytime you want to, but we won't.
You get a bronze, Georgie. That's what you get. You get it and you deserve it.
Yes. That's
I don't know if stuff like that gets us more followers or fewer.
I don't know, but I mean, it doesn't matter. The best way to feel good about yourself is to put other people down. I think that's really the best way to go.
Hear that, stupids?
Yes. I mean...
all right. So that's our Golden Georgies.
It is. Thank you, and stay unprofessional. Stay unprofessional. Stay unprofessional.